Welcome back to How to Decode Matrix Script 101. We are getting ready to get into how to do matrix script decoding, okay? So far we have covered the subjects as to why you need to understand this and how it all works numerically. What is gematria and what are numbers as far as them being different light angles and all of existence being frequency and light. And we also got into the crux of the story, which is centered around the two witnesses of Revelations 11. And if you have not watched part 1 through 8, I highly suggest you go back to watch the rest of the series so that you will be fully informed as to what we will be breaking down here today, so that you will have full knowledge of what it is that I am saying, because I am not slowing down on this part. This is going to be a deep dive, and I think it's actually perfect that we are right here at Independence Day, which is July 4th, and we're talking about the two witnesses being the crux of the story. And actually, what just happened today was the actor Michael Madsen passed away at the age of 67. So let's get into this code and do some matrix script decoding. What you need to think about when you are doing this type of decoding is what things remind you of other things. And basically you can jump around to different subjects. I am giving you a very light overview of how the flow works and how you can connect dots. And I can assure you that the dots go way deeper than this. I'm talking like the names of people, all the actors, everyone involved in the projects from the producer on down, their birthdays. Every single person involved is a part of the cipher. This is what you call numerology science, or they are calling it a form of numerology magic, okay? Because when you are altering numbers, you are talking about altering the source code, and you're using sorcery to alter source code. So let's get into these numbers and start from the top, where we are talking about Independence Day. The words Independence Day actually in simple gematria equal 128, which is also 11. And of course, the 4th of July is 7-4, so that also equals 11. And of course, you know, right now we have the 47th president of the United States. And I could get into that, and I know that these numbers sync. However, I will just drop a few more of those in this slide so you can just see them very quickly, and you can understand where it is that I'm coming from in regards to tying this all together. So let's go from the top here. You have Michael Madsen, who passed away. His birthday is 9/25/1957. He died at the age of 67. And as I told you before, the number 13 is a reference to the 13th bloodline. Okay, so the September is actually the 7th month of the year. And when I'm doing these ciphers, what I typically do is I subtract 2 months from the month, okay? And I subtract 9 years from the year. And this brings us in years closer to the ancient calendars, or the Ethiopic calendar. I usually use the year 2012 as the end of the Mayan calendar to gauge when this end of the world was supposed to be. And if you subtract 9, it brings you right at 2021, which is a direct flip of 2012. So subtracting 9 typically gives you the absolute perfect numerical cipher in terms of how these numbers are supposed to fall. And it makes perfect sense that they added 9 years onto the calendar, because 9 is the divine number. And if you wanted to spite the creator and make sure that something didn't happen in regards to the birth of the man-child, which is the divine masculine, or the number 9, then you would definitely add 9 more years to the calendar. And as the scripture says, that he would think to change the times and laws, okay? So if you look at Michael Madsen's birthday, numerically, it breaks down to the numbers 2 for the main number, which is also an iteration of the number 11. And then on the bottom, which is the actual ancient date, it breaks down to 9. So here you have 9/11. And then his bottom numbers, which I also like to factor in because I find that they are totally different most times, but they also tie into the numerical cipher perfectly. His bottom numbers equal 22, which also equals the number 4. So that ties into his age at the time of death. Then you have the fact that he died on July 3rd, 2025, which is the day before Independence Day. And Independence Day film was released, which stars Will Smith, which is why I said here we're going to free Willie from Philly, okay? And we're going to talk about how this all factors and connects into Will Smith. But as I said, this is all a much deeper rabbit hole that you can get even deeper into. I'm just giving you an overview, okay? So Independence Day film was released on July 3rd, 1996, which, as you can see here, that ties into the 9/7, and it also ties into Will Smith's birthday perfectly. The box office numbers are 817.4 million, which equals 74 or 11 again. And then even the location of where they first premiered the movie, okay, is called Mann Plaza Theater, all right? And the address for that equals 113, which equals 5. I don't know if you remember or recall from the previous lecture that I gave in regards to the eagle has landed, but this is the exact same number that I broke down in that particular video. So again, if you have not seen that, go back and watch it. But the numbers for the eagle has landed, which is a code for the 2 witnesses or the 13th bloodline, is 131. So please keep that in mind as we go through the rest of this, and you see that number repeated throughout because it's actually the number 5. And as I explained before, we are headed into the 5th dimension, which is the Ankh dimension. We are leaving the cross dimension, which is it is 4 points, flat points, and it doesn't include the additional womb space of the woman. And the Ankh actually has an extra dimension, which is the 5th dimensional space of the womb. So when you see the number 5, it is a reference to that. And in terms of this particular location, it has MANN in the name, and everything that they do is very specific. And the total for the simple gematria of that particular name, Mann Plaza Theater, is 175, which also equals 4. There are 650 seats within this theater. It's actually closed now, which 6 plus 5 equals 11. And then it was opened on June 30th, 1967, which actually equals 5. Then it premiered in the box office, and it grossed $75 million. The number 7 and 5 equals 12, which is very succinct with the 12th dimension or the 3rd dimension, as I mentioned before, or this Trinity when you're talking about the cross energy, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, all masculine, okay? And going into Freeing Willie from Philly, this particular movie, Free Willy, is associated with Michael Madsen, and it has the name Willie in it, so I cross-referenced that with Will Smith and the fact that this is all connected to Independence Day, the film, and he died before Independence Day. So this particular Free Willy film was released on 7/16/1993, which again is the same as his birthday and the same as Will Smith's birthday. You have the 7/7 energy being repeated. So the film itself was 112 minutes, which again, that's the number 13, and it had a $20 million budget, which again is the number 11. Will Smith is actually 56 years old at the moment, which equals 11. Also, the name Willard Carroll Smith II equals 245 in simple gematria, and 245 also equals 11. And he was born on 9/25/1968. His numbers cipher out to 42, and again 4 is an iteration of 13 and 2 is an iteration of 11. And then you have his bottom numbers that equal 3, just like the $75 million for the Independence Day film release. And you have Gemini Man, which is tied into the 2, which is actually 9 and 9 in his name. And Gemini Man was released on 10/1/2019 as well as 10/11/2019. And I want you to notice a theme here of the 3s. There's a lot of 3s here, and again, that is a reinforcement of this Trinity energy. You have here also the 2 release dates equaling 5 and 6, which also equals 11. That brings you back to the 11. And the box office numbers were 174 million, which can also be iterated as 111. The budget for the film, 138, can also be iterated as 111. And they say that because this was some CGI, doppelganger of Will Smith, and people didn't particularly care for this alternative person or artificial Will Smith, it bombed at the box office, okay, for $111 million. Go figure, right? Because Will was an iRobot, okay, or he was a robotic form of himself, and that's the reason why the film bombed, okay. And that leads us into iRobot, the film, which is set in Chicago, which is the same place where Michael Madsen was born, okay. The release dates are 7/7 again 2004, and that equals 11, and also 7/16/2004, which also equals 11, okay. And again, it was released at the Mann Village Theater. Remember the Mann Plaza Theater for the release of Independence Day film, exact same name. So we're talking about the Man or the Gemini Man, basically. And this was located at 961 Broxton Avenue. 961 equals 7, and Broxton Avenue in simple gematria equals 176, which also equals 5. There's your 7 and 5, which equals 12, which equals 3. It received an award at the 77th Academy Award for Best Visual Effects, okay? And 7 plus 7 equals 14 equals 5, okay? And this film ran 115 minutes, which equals 7. The budget was 120 million, which equals 3. Box office, again, you have this iteration of 111, okay, with 353.1. And that brings me to the Tesla bot, because when we're talking about robots, we can't leave out Elon Musk. We can't leave out the robots, okay? So the Tesla bot in simple gematria equals 94, which is also the same as Willow. Go figure, okay? Which 94 equals 13. Again, that's back at the 13th bloodline. And the word Optimus actually equals 113, which equals 5 again, which I said again is 131 also. The AI Day event that they announced this particular robot was August 19, 2021, and that actually equals 113 or 5 again. The cost of this robot is $30K, and Optimus makes you think of Optimus Prime because 5 is actually a prime number. And the first prime toy, which was actually a truck, which had all of the, all of the different Autobots would ride in this truck, and there was this talisman in his chest basically, and they called it the Creation Matrix. The name of that Optimus Prime toy truck was FL86, which if you take F and L, F equals 6, L equals 12, which is also 3, and then you have the number 86, and again this all equals 32. And this is how you do a flow in decoding. And I can assure you that this goes even deeper than this. And actually, what it makes me think about when you talk about robots and you're talking about will, or you're talking about willpower, okay, or whether it's against the will of man to have these AI bots, or to introduce something into our reality that will take the place of the fifth dimension, okay, or will supersede the fifth dimension and overrule the 11, which are the twin or the two witnesses or the Gemini man, okay, which I can get into that also in regards to who that is referencing, but I won't do that just yet. We'll get into that on another video. However, I hope you enjoyed this message. Please like, share, and subscribe, and put a comment down in the comments just to let me know what you think of this content overall. Thank you for watching. Peace, love, and light.